Okay, so for legal writing today, I just want to go over a little bit about the processing of a contract and actually really just the pre-drafting process. That's what we focus a lot of our readings on and are actually putting it into practice, was understanding that lawyers make rules and they don't make rules, but they make arguments based off of rules, they make arguments based off of cases, and then they make arguments based off of policy. But a lot of the pre-drafting process deals with making arguments based off of analogy, meaning the review of the cases and use those cases to make their arguments. So how does this all work? Well, let's take an authoritative example where you have a single authority. An authority, remember, is just a case. Say it works in your jurisdiction. And we're going to want to first determine what is the global rule that is established in that authority. Say, for self-defense, it lists out the rule for self-defense. Okay, well, it's like, now what's applicable to our case specifically? What are we going to want to focus on in this authority and draw it out to our case? Well, you look at the two prongs and it's like, okay, this applies to our case and this doesn't apply to this case. This is an issue, this is a non-issue. And anything that deals with reasonable belief tends to be an issue. So both prongs I should say both elements of self-defense deal with reasonable belief. So both of those are going to be an issue, and we'll want to address both of those things. The first element is going to talk about the reasonable belief of an attacker, whereas the second element talks about the reasonable belief of the defendant in this case. And so we're going to want to address both the facts and how it applies to each of those prongs, part of the rule. When we are writing all this down, the whole point of this is to figure out the best way to outline, to prepare, to draft, to do your legal writing. And you want to make sure that you are well prepared. This whole purpose is for that preparation. So understanding the global rule, understanding what facts you're going to want to pull out of that global rule, and then actually making that analysis where you're like, okay, well, what cases from this example, from this authoritative source, applies to this rule? What does the court care about? And as you look at what the court cares about, you're going to discover that the court has some guiding factors. There are some things that the court references either explicitly or implicitly that shape why those particular facts are important to them. So you look at the facts and then you look at the guiding factors and you make comparisons to your case. So you see, okay, these facts worked here. The court liked them for these reasons. So now how does this deal with our client? And you make that comparison. Okay, what facts from our client's case apply to these same guidelines, these same guiding factors that the court used in this case? And that's really how you begin to prepare to draft for legal writing. Nothing too complicated, but if you overthink it, it takes a lot more time than you might expect. And I overthought it. But I think I have it pretty good in my head now. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Law Schoolers. Before I let you go, there are 4 things I want to say. The first thing is if you enjoyed these episodes and if you enjoyed the website, I would invite you to go and join Law Schoolers Pro. And you can do that by going to lawschoolers.com/join. It's a way for you to support us, but there's also a lot of features there that I think you will enjoy. Second thing is that nearly all of our episodes are unedited. The only ones that aren't are pre-law materials, and the reason for that is so you can actually see the legal material in its raw form as I'm learning it as well. The third thing is that the information contained in these episodes are specifically only for educational purposes. They're not to be used as legal advice, and with that, the fourth thing is if it is used as legal advice, we are not liable. That is, Law Schoolers is not liable for any legal outcomes. Thank you again for enjoying the show. Have a good one.